Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are here for a Taos Municipal Schools Board of Education regular board meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 19th. For the record, it is 6:05 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. Can we please get a roll call?
President Flores,
Here.
Vice President Spray,
Here.
Secretary Trujillo,
Here.
Board Member King,
Here.
Board Member Concha.
Superintendent Lane, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to go ahead and introduce our student that's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, tonight we have, doing the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Flora Mack, a senior from Taos High School. She's very interested in environmental sustainability and hopes to go to a university and major in zoology. She is the team captain of Taos High's Envirothon team, a Land of Enchantment Young Ambassador, and the team lead and founder of Eco Club. She is passionate about Eco Club's goal to reduce waste at Taos High by 50% and proud of the progress made in the school garden. So tonight, please welcome Flora Mack.
If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Mack, thank you for joining us tonight and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The superintendent spoke briefly about you and about your passions. I really enthused to hear about your goal to reduce waste at Taos High School by 50%. During my day job, I work for the town of Taos, and we are currently in process of beginning to build a recycling facility for the town of Taos and the greater region. So hopefully in the future, when you come back and visit us after you move on to college, maybe we could get you engaged with this project. Board have any questions or comments for Ms. Mack?
Thank you. Good
Thank
luck
you for your
with
presence
everything.
tonight. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And also Flora will also be doing the land acknowledgement statement tonight.
It is respectful to recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. We acknowledge that we are on historic homeland of the Red Willow people within the original territory of Taos Pueblo. This acknowledgement will oblige as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to respectfully recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land and water we benefit from in this great valley today.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. Item 5 is approval of the meeting agenda. Are there any proposed or recommended changes to the agenda as it stands? None? At this time, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a second from Vice President Spray. Please call for the roll.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 6 is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak during public comment or online? If you're online, please raise your hand. None? Okay. We'll go ahead and move on from public comment to item 7, which is the consent agenda. We have one item under the consent agenda. It's the approval of the board minutes for the October 7th, 2025 special meeting and the November 5th, 2025 regular board meeting. Any questions or comments regarding the meetings as presented, the meeting minutes? Okay, I will go ahead and proceed to make a motion to approve item 7.1 of the consent agenda, which is the board meetings for October 7th and November 5th, 2025.
I'm sorry, President Mark. With the agenda for the minutes for the regular meeting, there was an addition that I can talk to Samantha about it. But with that, I'm in favor. So I'll second that motion.
Okay, so there, when you say in addition, Board Member King, if you could just briefly elaborate.
Yeah, it's just a comment, I said with the superintendent report,
Okay.
yeah, at the water department. Small,
Okay.
just some comments regarding the bond, the GO bond.
So there is a motion to approve the board minutes with a second from Board Member King with an addition that will be made with discussion with our executive secretary. We have a second. Go ahead and call for the roll, please.
Right. Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 8, presentations. 8.1 is our Taos High School Eco Club student presentation to the board by our Taos High School Eco Club. Welcome, students.
Thank you guys for having us. Superintendent, President, and Vice President, and members of the board. My name is Flora, and I am the team lead of the Taos High School Eco Club.
Once again, thank you, school board, for having us. Mr. Superintendent, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and members. I am Jacob Flores. I am the leader of the Power and Water section of the club.
Thank you for having us, Superintendent, President, and Vice President, and school board members. I am the community liaison of the team, and I do the community outreach. Thank you.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Kira, and I am in charge of the agriculture aspect of our club. Hello, I'm Angelica, and I am in charge of the recycling part aspect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a slideshow for you guys today, and we're going to be presenting a progress report for the garden and the upcoming Eco Summit from August to November of this year. So first, we're going to talk about the progress we've made in the garden, which would be, yeah. When it comes to agriculture, we have been increasing food protection by moving the beds into a better area. We have also been increasing yields to provide to the school and the community. We plant, tend, and harvest a variety of fruits and vegetables and herbs every single day within our garden.
And with regards to construction and maintenance, we are totally focused on building our greenhouses with completely upcycled or recycled materials. We really tend not to purchase new materials. Any new materials are lumber or plastic for the greenhouses. And with regards to power and water, we are developing systems to collect rainfall, snowfall, and we are converting all of our systems to solar.
Of course, we have community outreach. So we have a public newsletter that we put out onto social media every week. We are coordinating with our community partners, and we are producing videos each week to show our progress that we're making in the garden. And then with recycling, we recently did a waste audit at our high school, and we're going to be using the data that we got from this waste audit to create plans to try to reduce each different kind of waste, and we're putting that into action right now.
So as a youth-led organization, we've seen time and time again how many of these initiatives tend to collapse after their founders graduate. So to counter that, we are putting together an instruction manual that will help the next generation with their grant writing, with their community outreach, and simple maintenance on how to maintain our systems. And that'll just put the next generation of Eco Club members in a position to be successful.
As you can see, we have a lot of future plans for the Eco Club. I'm going to be focusing on the main ones. First, we are going to complete construction of animal enclosures. We're going to have several fowl, like chicken and ducks and turkeys. We are going to get these animals donated, and we are going to begin production on animal products by the end of this school year. When it comes to food production, we're expanding that more. We are going to have salsa gardens and ramen gardens, and we're going to be growing more herbs. And we will also be initiating rainwater systems and improving soil health. And then, of course, when it comes to our initiative to reduce waste, we are building systems to store the waste that we get. We are training janitors to support us in organizing this waste. And we are making plans to figure out a way to reuse this waste.
Next, we are proud to announce that we are sponsoring the 2026 Youth Eco Summit, and this is basically an event where we will gather students from across the state to come to our school, and they will have the opportunity to interact with fellow aspiring environmentalists, and this will be a platform for them to really connect and really to establish themselves as those youth leaders in our ecosystem and in our environmental pursuits.
So just to give you guys a taste of what that will look like, we have a few proposed activities and workshops. First, we have the Eco Fair, which is we will be inviting colleges, businesses, and other presenters to kind of give students an example of what sustainability can look like and show them what networks and programs they have to help students who want to pursue sustainability further. Then we will have the garden tour, which we will be showing off our very own garden at Taos High School. And we will be showing them what a sustainable garden looks like and how they can initiate it in their own schools or in their own homes. Then we'll have the farm to table lunch, of course. We need to show them our products. So we will be using food straight from the garden, prepared by the Taos High School Culinary and used on reusable cutlery and dishware, serving to everybody there. And then lastly, we have a tour of the Taos Land Trust, which would be, we would take students to the Land Trust, which is already a fully functioning sustainable garden here in the community. And we would show them what it would look like to have that kind of garden.
So the photos before you are harvests from a single day in our garden. So our garden typically produces between 50 and 100 pounds of tomatoes a week. And this is not our full capacity. These are only from 3 planters that we have, and we plan to build many more than that. So this is only a glimpse of what we can achieve. And most of this produce is being resupplied to our culinary program and to our local community members, such as food banks and shelters.
Then this is our progress on the greenhouse. So this is our high tunnel, which is the biggest greenhouse that we have currently. And as you can see, the first photo is from the last school year. It was completely overgrown. Almost no crops could grow. The second photo was from over the summer when we did a lot of work to tear down the weeds. And then the final photo is what it looks like right now. We covered it in tarps and cardboard to stop weeds from growing and hopefully to revitalize the soil so we can continue to grow more in that bed later on.
So as a sustainability organization, we understand that it's not only important but necessary for our community members and our young people to not only understand these environmental issues, but how to address those issues in a practical and meaningful way. And in doing so, we would greatly appreciate your help in that effort. Thank you. And we will now be open for questions.
We'll start off with Vice President Sprague.
You guys, that was so good. Great job. Do you have ways in which the school board can help you in mind, or will you just let us know as they come up, or how do we do that?
So we are very grateful that our grant has been approved. So we are now in a position to actually move forward and invest in those new appliances and systems that we need in the garden.
Okay, just let us know if there are more ways we can help you, please. Thank you. Good job.
Board Member King?
So you're talking about when you guys graduate. So what, are you guys all seniors? Do we have some, so you're all seniors. So I encourage you to get some underclassmen as well. Encourage, what time do you guys meet in the day?
We meet on Wednesdays at 3 after school. We do actually have a few upperclassmen in our club right now, but we're working on recruiting more. But yeah.
And your grant, was that a local grant or was it a national grant?
Yeah, it was a Lore Foundation.
And how much was that?
30,000.
Oh, great.
I saw the project at the very beginning. Everything was just new when I visited the high school. And with Superintendent Layton and Benny, if I may. And I would like to see it again at this point. And just to see the fruit that comes from that, the harvest. And do you still have harvest? Are you still harvesting? Or not anymore?
Not quite anymore, no.
Not anymore. Then I missed it. Oh, sorry.
Paint mark.
Well, again, congratulations, because I just love when you plant something and you just get, those tomatoes are gorgeous, the beautiful tomatoes. And my favorite, turnips, again, but thank you. Thank you for your efforts. And again, understanding what we can harvest and what we can produce from our land. And I believe that that's what the environmental project that you have, to see what it is. It's just not seeing it in a book form, but you're seeing the reality of it all. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. So the Eco Club, how long has it been in existence?
Not very long. We just started it last year, probably in April or May.
It's a great initiative, very exciting presentation. Really enjoyed hearing about it. I've been involved in gardening since I was a young boy with my grandfather. It's something that I really enjoy, the fruits of our labor and seeing the plants grow from a seed. And sometimes you don't always get what you wish for, but it's always very enjoyable. I myself, I'm also involved in agriculture. My family, we raise cattle and sheep, and so I think this is very important. Our community is really moving forward with sustainability and regenerative agriculture, and a lot of what you guys are covering here. Very excited that this initiative is in place. I have a question. Who is your class sponsor?
William Tyndall.
Mr. Tyndall. Well, thank you, Mr. Tyndall, for supporting these students in this initiative. I think it's a great initiative. I'm also a part of an organization called Alianza Agricultura, and we support agriculture within the community. And I'd really like to see if we could get in touch with you. And there's ways that we also get grant funding and possibly could support this initiative and support the group and the class moving forward. Would you be able to leave some contact information with the superintendent? Or I guess I could get it from the superintendent, and then we'll reach out to you. I just want to commend you students for all your work. I think this is very important. It's very important for our environment, our nation, the world as a whole. There's so many comments that I wish I could speak to you tonight about, but just having you here tonight, showcasing your work, I think is very powerful. You mentioned it, Mr. Flores, youth leaders. I think this is very instrumental in showcasing the leadership that you guys are doing at the high school, and recruiting younger underclassmen, I think, is going to be very important. Mr. Tyndall has a lot of responsibility ahead of him to keep this going, so thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Superintendent, I also a thought dawned on me. Is there a possibility that we can engage with the Taos News to do a success story on these students and what they've done at the high school?
Absolutely, President Flores. We'll get that going and contact them to do a little bit. So don't be surprised if they do show up, get those pictures and a little bit of interviews.
I would love for the community to see what you guys have done at the high school. So thank you for your presentation and showing your work for the board.
Yeah, one thing that always really saddens me, guys, and maybe you can do this as a public service announcement and just letting the school community know, as well as our community, about littering. People, we live in paradise, and you see trash along the road. It's it's just I don't know what it is that people want to throw things out and not recycle. And maybe you guys can do some signage. I think that would be a good initiative as well. You know, I guess when we were growing up, what was the motto?
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
You're right, something like that. But yeah, just that's, and I think you can get everyone in the school to do like like Earth Day, but you guys can do it in the school year. With the weather being as warm as it is, maybe that's something you guys can do. You know, I know you have your Friday, that's sometimes you have a little free time, and let's pick up around the campus and just the awareness. Because, you know, we live in beautiful community. People come here from all over the world to camp, ski, you know, hang out, just the quality of air. So just kind of remind your fellow students to don't litter. So, but you guys are doing great. Appreciate it.
I have a follow-up question. So when do you guys tend to the garden throughout the course of the week and the day? How does that structure work?
So typically we go out to the garden 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the schedule for that week. But recently we have been a bit limited in our ability to tend to the garden with all of the paperwork that we've been doing, all of this planning for new operations we're into. But on a typical week, we do go out to the garden 2 to 3 days a week, and we spend considerable time, usually about 45 minutes to an hour each class.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. And then the young ladies that are standing in the back ever so quietly, if you could step forward and just speak a little bit about your the items that you oversee. I know there's agriculture, and you just share with the board.
So I'm in charge of recycling. So we have a group in the class, and we are currently working on, in the class, we're working on a book to learn how to recycle glass, plastic, paper, cardboard, and aluminum. So we are currently working on how to process those, what to do with them, where to store them, pros and cons of recycling them. And we're planning to make glass into gravel and to make beads with them to craft. And with plastic, we are going to put them into adobe bricks, which will insulate them. And then for paper and cardboard, we are planning to make mulch. And we are also planning to make firewood bricks, which you just compress them. And if you put coffee in them, they'll burn like firewood. And aluminum, we're just planning to reuse, and we're going to crush it and sell it.
Great.
Was that, President Flores, I have a question. Was that the new containers that were around the campus that we just recently saw? I think there's one in front of the cafeteria.
Yes, we initiated that last year, but it's getting so overfilled and we don't have a place to put it because we have not been able to contact the Taos Recycling Center. We are hoping to get maybe more of those on campus as well.
Okay. In regards to recycling aluminum, I got a little personal story. So when I was young, my grandfather used to save all the aluminum cans, and then we would take them to the recycling center, and he would use that money to take me and my brothers to get a haircut. And and we'd stop by McDonald's, which was a great treat. This weekend, in all actuality, I took I tried to recycle. I took some aluminum cans to Santa Fe. There's a recycling place down in Santa Fe, and I made a little bit of some money, but I think it's more in the initiative, you know, to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So I still practice that to this day, and it's something that was taught to me at a young age. So I'm really enthused that you all are practicing this and passing it along to the younger underclassmen and sharing it with the community. Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Thank you.
And could I get your other classmates to come up and speak a little bit?
Hello. I run our social media page. It's called Taos Eco Club, and I film around the garden and I document the whole process of the photos. Like I video everybody doing work. That's mainly my job. I also do like social media. Like I post stuff like of things we've done. Like this is our Taos High School waste from the audit. It was our data, and I posted it online to show like the community, like what we've been doing. And like my group is also in charge of a newsletter, like letting people know this is the small things we do. And like my team mostly just runs like people knowing what we do.
That's really great. That's great to hear, and it's great to get the communication out to the community. Hello.
Um, in the gardens, I'm in charge of the agriculture for mostly the Grow Dome. And right now we're working on how to plant like vegetables and fruits and herbs throughout the summer, the fall, the spring, the winter, and how to care for them. And I'm also trying to create a whole booklet so that way next year the class can use that and go off of that.
You all have been working very hard, it seems like. Yes, Secretary Trujillo.
Did you have any issues with grasshoppers?
We did.
You didn't, or you did?
We did.
You did.
There was a lot of infestation, but we cleaned out as much as we could and treated it. So I don't really think it's a big problem right now.
I say that only because I had a huge issue with grasshoppers, and I was wondering how how you all had processed through it, or taken care of your garden, as you know, having to deal with the infestation of not just grasshoppers, maybe other bugs, but I think that should be part of the growth part, because things you might grow plants, but there might be obstacles to those plants being harvested, and but I don't know. It's important in the environment to just you want to see the fruit come through, and you have to take care of what is hindering that process. Thank you.
Board Member King.
Yeah, I'm an athlete at heart, but you guys can start the students in elementary school almost like a feeder system. I had a chance to go to the Taos football game, and it was a thriller. I'm sure you guys all heard about it, and you probably was in the stands too, but elementary level, middle school, and you're feeding the club in high school. And I think you guys will find it very encouraging to see the excitement, because the kids love older kids, and you guys are about ready to start your college careers, and I think you'll find it inspiring as well. You'll leave a legacy, so I encourage you to reach out to the young ones.
Well, this was a very exciting presentation. Thank you all for your time and all for your work, and we look forward to hearing how this continues to thrive. And definitely, I believe that you all will hopefully will come back after your future endeavors and check on the greenhouse and check on Mr. Tyndall and see how everything's moving forward. So thank you all for your work. Appreciate it so much, and your presentation.
One last thing.
Yes.
You guys' newsletter, we would like to, if you can send it to the board, I'd love to read it and see how you guys are doing in the year. This would be very encouraging. So the superintendent can give us guys our email.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. It's always exciting to get our students in front of the board and let the community see all the work that they're doing, and also the support of the teachers that support them through this initiative. So I want to thank Mr. Tyndall and all the students' parents for their support as well. Thank you, Superintendent, for bringing this forward, and thank you, Mrs. Herrera, for your support at the high school as the principal. Okay, moving forward, I don't think that anything could really surpass that. We'll go to 8.2, general obligation bond timeline and next steps presentation by Mr. Nicholas Kane, Vice President of Stiefel Public Finance.
Thank you, President Flores, Dr. Layton, and members of the board for having me here tonight. I'm Nick from Stiefel Public Finance, and we serve as the district's municipal bond advisor, as you may know. Tonight, I'm joined by my colleague, Carolyn Ives, who's sitting over there. Wanted to bring her along to start to get to know you all as well as we move forward with the bond sales, most likely in early 2026. But first, I wanted to congratulate the district on a successful election and the good support you saw from the community members there with the strong yes vote that ended up coming out on election day. Always good to see the positive support from the community members. The third page on my presentation just gives us kind of a brief overview of what the general obligation bonds can be used for and how we calculate kind of the bonding capacity to get to that $50 million amount. One back, Samantha, thank you. So as a reminder, the general obligation bond funds cannot be used for things like teacher salaries or operating expenses. They do need to be used for the capital improvements for the school district facilities like we have talked about the past couple of months. That is something that we want you all to focus on over the next couple of weeks, is continuing that conversation with the community members, staff, and other members of the district, just to figure out what some of those other projects besides the middle school are that might be a priority for us all to focus on. And then page 4 of the presentation has what I call a loose timeline for the bond sale. So right now we cannot sell bonds. You guys cannot do anything. We are in a waiting period where all of the election results need to be certified by the state. And that usually takes about 30 days, which puts us close to the holidays and gets a little bit hard to get all the necessary approvals from the different counties and state members that are involved in a bond sale. So it really puts us in early 2026 that we can consider selling bonds. We don't want to actually begin that bond sale process until you have some of those projects identified and have a need for the money. As soon as we go ahead and sell the bonds, you guys do have to start accruing interest, and that will add to your total cost. So we want to wait until some of those projects are identified after a successful election. You have 4 years to go ahead and issue the debt. And then you have to spend the majority of that money within 3 years. All of it has to be spent within 5 years. So there is a little flexibility as far as timing goes on when we actually sell those bonds. Another thing to consider, if you are looking at a middle school project, you're most likely not going to pay the contractor the entire bill up front. They're going to have some sort of draw schedule that will take you 2-3 years out potentially. And so we'll most likely look to break up that $50 million amount into 2 or 3 different buckets. The first one, could be $5 million if you only have a couple of the smaller projects identified and bigger construction wasn't scheduled to start for a year or so. Those dollar amounts we will talk about in the winter once some of the projects are identified and we have a little bit more idea on what the immediate needs are for the district. And then on the next page, if we can flip over there real quick, that shows what our estimated tax impact would be for selling the $50 million at once. This kind of maximum tax impact getting up to $7 for the total, residential mill levy is still what we expect for the district, even if we were to break it up into 2 or 3 bond sales. So it might look a little bit different not having the full $50 million at once, but that is still our commitment to keep the tax rate or the tax raise low and try and stay around that $7 mark, if not below it if we can. Breaking it out into 2 or 3 bond sales potentially means that tax impact will not be as big as we estimated, because you will not have all of the $3.7 million, that we're showing in principal payments due in 2027. So that is something we'll continue to work on and refine as we move along with our timeline. And then just looking at some of the next steps, the school district does have an open application to the PSFA for funding assistance. PSFA is meeting in December to decide awards, and then they have a similar process where it has to go through a review before the money is actually able to be spent. The district also needs to update the 5-year facility master plan, which is about to expire at the end of this calendar year. There is some leeway as far as the state's concerned, because you do have an application open to update the 5-year facility master plan. Your old one is still active and current, even if it expires at the end of this calendar year. So that old facility master plan will remain in place as we begin some of the planning and design conversations. But the PSFA, PSCOC do want to see a fully built out 5-year facility master plan to make sure the projects you are all accomplishing or trying to fund with the bond money and potentially state matching funds align with that 5-year master plan for the district. So that is something we recommend you focus on over the next 6 to 12 months. They do take a lot of time to complete because it's going to be a comprehensive report of all your district facilities, including this building here. And that will, again, align well with kind of the end of planning and design. If you do end up getting the award for construction from PSFA in December, you'll be able to start planning and design work potentially by June of 2026. And then construction could be 3 months away. Most likely it would be 6 to 12 months by the time the architect has finished all their planning, design, and kind of approval steps that are needed. So if everything goes as planned, we'll work through some of those steps in the background as far as updating the 5-year facility master plan, talking about projects, while also getting ready to start the bond sale. The bond sale would start potentially in March to help make sure the district has money available by June when some of those projects might want to occur if classrooms are empty. We also want to try and sell the first set of bonds before August of 2026. That's when our firm works with the public education department to go ahead and set your tax rate and mill levy for the upcoming year. If we don't have the bond sale finalized before that August 2026 date, it could potentially delay us on selling the bond until we have the chance to talk with PED and make sure that the mill levy is set so you all can collect the funds. Ideally, we want somewhere between 9 and 12 months of lead time when we sell the bonds and start collecting before you actually have your first interest payment. I'm going to pause there real quick to see if anyone has questions on the timeline or what some of those next steps are.
I do have one question. So when does the timeline start for us to have to start spending down that money?
That will start once the bonds are actually issued. So you have to spend 90% of it within 3 years. There are a couple incremental spend downs. I think you have to have 10% of it spent within the first 6 months, and then you have a couple other hurdles at 6, 12, 18, 24 as you go up to it. When you actually sell the bond, you have to have the intent to sell or to use that money within 3 years. If you sold the bonds and there was an environmental study that delayed your project and cost you guys 6 months on the timeline, you would not be penalized for it. The intent is to make sure that you're not issuing, tax exempt proceeds, incurring interest, and having some of those extra costs.
Vice President Spring? Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for that too. Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for coming up.
Of course.
I have a question on the January 2026 work on a new 5-year facilities master plan. I guess my question is probably maybe not to you, but to Dr. Layton. Have we issued an RFP already for that?
We've already opened up the application process, and so once we get the response back, then we begin that process of getting that RFP out.
There has not been a formal RFP issued yet. We advised against issuing a formal RFP or starting it. Dr. Layton and I submitted an application, I think in March of 2025 for the 5-year facility plan. We were a couple days off on making the window for their April 2025 meeting. So you guys have been pushed to, the window closed in September, which puts you on the December 2025 meeting. Once the state formally awards you the assistance for the 5-year master plan, which we expect them to do, that's when you can go ahead and start to issue the RFP and go through that process. If you were to begin the process now, the state could potentially say they're not going to pay their share of it, which is about 1/3 of the total cost. And that is the main reason we suggested waiting to issue an RFP or actually begin that work, is so you can take advantage and use the full funding from the state.
Okay, that's very good explanation. Thank you. Dr. Layton, will you be sure and keep us appraised of when you put the RFP out for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the boards, to be aware of, I did speak with Superintendent Layton for our next board meeting to have a presentation on the 5-year master plan. I'd kind of go over the current 5-year master plan and then engage the board on moving that forward. So I think at our next school board meeting, we'll have a presentation on the 5-year master plan.
We'll do that presentation.
I believe so. The current master plan was drafted by Livy Design Group Architects,
Right.
so I wanted to bring them in to speak on that 5-year master plan. And then so the board could also move forward with discussing next steps.
Okay, thanks.
And I would like to have you, within that, you spoke of the different thresholds of the monies, how they need to be spent, and what projects or what steps need to be done. would you give us that timeline in a document so that we can see what is going to transpire in each one of those segments? Because again, I know how important they are, and to be able to meet those thresholds is very, very important.
Yes, ma'am, I will. And the spend down threshold would begin with each set of the bond sales. So if we sold, we'll call it 1/3 of the proceeds in 2026, the next third in 2027, and the remainder in 2028, your 3-year clock would start from each of those bond sales and would be tied to the projects we identify when we sell the bonds. So you don't have everything tied to the same clock from the first bond sale. It will end up giving you a longer time to spend kind of the last set of money that you have available.
Okay, and my other question is, these, the program monies, I call them program monies, they will be held in trust at where? Is it?
That's something Dr. Martins and I were talking about before the meeting. That would depend on how we actually sell the bonds. There are two main options. One is through the New Mexico Finance Authority. The other is a public market sale where the district would control the money yourself. If it's sold through the New Mexico Finance Authority, the NMFA holds the money and you basically have a requisition process. If you have a bill, you can send them the bill and they'll pay it. Option 2 is, I think, the one we're going to end up talking more about later on and recommending, because it gives you more flexibility in how those project funds can be spent. There's also a couple ways you can help generate, for example, a premium when selling the bonds that would cover the cost of issuance potentially and lower some of those financing costs. But if you go through the public market sale, the short answer is the district has full control of the money, and then it would depend on what bank you would like the money deposited at.
And I ask that only because if these programs, it just depends on where these program monies are going to be held, because usually they generate interest. And so to me, I think that is important to consider.
It is. So the NMFA does not allow you to generate money on your bond proceeds. They hold the money, and they would be the ones theoretically who make money on any unspent bond proceeds. If the district has control of the money, then you could potentially invest it, and you can't generate more money than you're paying in interest, because then you're borrowing and taking advantage of the taxpayers. But if you earn the money on interest that is slightly below what you're paying or the same, then yes, the district could potentially invest those bond proceeds for 3, 6, 12 months in something, even like a CD that we all see at the local banks, to generate some more money that would increase the available project dollars for the different projects, maybe get 1 or 2 more small things done because of it. And then again, it would help pay for some of the cost of issuance around Stifel's fees, lawyer fees, rating agencies, and things like that.
I appreciate knowing that, because again, I think that I believe Dr. Martin has a comment.
Secretary Trujillo, as Mr. Nick already indicated, Stifel and I, we are in the discussion to prepare 2 options for the board. Option number 1 is NMFA, and option number 2 is a direct placement. So I kindly request your patience that we work on the numbers, and we talked specifically about the interest proceeds. We are again on the same page, thinking alike. I just would like to shortcut it here. Please let us do our work, but you have 2 real options on the table, but well worked out.
One more thought, and I've just seen that you, the Bank of Albuquerque, utilized it, and again, I remember just seeing that that same requisition type of environment that they can be secure, the expenditures of these monies, to where there's a reconciliation over here on this end with another entity that is tracking the monies. Yet we're making money off of our money. And so again, I think that it's important to kind of look at the options very, very carefully and seeing which would benefit the school.
Yes, and like Dr. Martins pointed out, we'll put together A and B option. We'll put together some actual numbers behind it so you know what the cost difference are. One thing to mention on the NMFA, like you said, it could be good to have someone else double checking where money is going. The one downside or risk to that is you have to identify your projects before you sell the bonds to the NMFA. If, for example, the middle school was allocated half of the bond proceeds for your match, and it ended up only costing you $5 million because construction was a lot cheaper when we actually did it. The NMFA makes it a lot more difficult to repurpose that money and use it on other projects. And so if you do have that direct placement where the district controls the money, we go back to the bond ballot language, which is construction for any school facility, more or less. And that gives you all as board members and staff the ability to maybe talk about new needs in 2 years. If for some reason a project came in a lot lower than you expected, you have that flexibility to reallocate money later on.
Secretary Trujillo, Stifel has data about which school districts went directly to the bond market and which ones are using NMFA. Is that there are advantages and disadvantages? For me, the interesting part is that Stifel just mentioned that a small school district like Estancias went directly to the bond market. Therefore, we will be looking very detailed in the advantages and disadvantages that you all can make a very informed decision.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I just want to compliment Nick and his colleagues, Brad. We met when I was elected. In fact, I wasn't even sworn in yet. And Nick and Brad was curious. I was curious about them, and I gave them some goals that I ran on, and the nimbleness and the professionality and matching funds. I just want to just thank you, and thank you for the community for not only helping us with this bond, but actually getting matching funds. It definitely does not go unnoticed. And I'll call Brad as well. You guys are true professionals. You're there. You're approachable. You make it in layman's terms. You made many trips up here, and I just want to thank you at the bottom of our hearts that you're making future for our community, our kids, our grandkids, a much brighter light.
Thank you, Board Member King. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Nick, did you have some more items to present? Or...
Nothing else to necessarily go through. The last couple pages in the presentation are taking a look at the taxable assessed valuation and the property values here in the district. Those numbers are unchanged from the last couple of presentations I've given you all. That is mostly in here for support and reference on how the bonding capacity is calculated from that first slide. So if you all do not have any questions on the valuations at this point, we can skip those last couple of slides.
Would you please comment on those at this point in time, because I think it will refresh everyone's mind, and also for record's sake, just to be able to confirm exactly that it is occurring exactly how it was intended.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. So we take a look at the taxable assessed valuation, which is the residential and non-residential property values that the Taos Municipal School District pulls from to make up your school district boundaries. That is a total of roughly $1.5 billion, which is a relatively large valuation by New Mexico standards. That takes a look at all of the, again, residential, non-residential, commercial properties that are in the school district. As a municipal school, you're allowed to bond up to 6% of that total. And 6% of 1.5 billion gives you guys a roughly $90 million bonding capacity. That does not mean you can go out and issue $90 million tomorrow because you guys do have debt outstanding. And then you also need to go ahead and get voter approval like we just went through. So right now you guys have about $11.8 million in debt outstanding. That gives you what I would call a true bonding capacity of $78 million. That's the amount of money that the district could go out and issue today if the voters had approved a $78 million bond. That would come with some tax consequences like we had talked about over the months leading up to the election. Like your car payments, the quicker you pay back the bond, you maybe have a higher payment. That higher monthly payment equates to our tax rate. If you spread it out over a longer period of time, you might have more interest payments that you make over the 20 or 30 years, but you'll end up having a smaller monthly payment, which has a lower impact on your taxes. So we spent a couple weeks before the board decided on that $50 million amount, talking about what the tax impact was going to be, what the different dollar amounts were, and how we could use that to leverage some matching funds from the state to accomplish a new middle school project at the time was our discussion. And then that kind of plays into how we structure the repayment schedule. That was on page 6. In it's a balancing act. We don't want to stretch out the payments the full 20 years that you can go and incur higher interest costs if we have the ability to pay it back in 10 or 15 years. So we tried to take a look at what your current tax rate is, what you guys are currently paying based off that debt service mill levy, and then using that as a starting point to figure out what the district has been able to afford on an annual basis. We could not necessarily get that full $50 million amount accomplished without raising taxes. It does end up being about a $1 increase we expect for the first 4 years to accomplish kind of that extra amount that there is in the GEO bond compared to the debt that you guys have outstanding. And the main reason is you guys have not issued new bonds since, I believe, 2016. Property values were significantly lower back then, and as a result, you guys could not bond for the same dollar amount. You could not have the same annual payment as you can today. And so now, because the property value for the district has gone up, you can theoretically issue the same amount that you did in the past and have a lower tax rate or maybe the same tax rate, but you would not have been able to accomplish all of those projects we talked about. So again, with that kind of balancing act, we came to the $50 million amount for the election that would afford the district the local match to pay for the middle school, with the state paying for roughly 1/3 of the cost, and then also leave you somewhere between $10 and $15 million, depending on the final cost of the middle school, that you can allocate towards those other projects.
Is there a possibility that that through the taxation process, that it can generate a lot more?
Yes, it can.
What?
We will evaluate it on an annual basis in August of every year when we set the tax rates with the Public Education Department. So for example, this year we set your tax rates based off that $1.5 billion in valuation. If it ends up being 1.6 or $1.7 billion that your property values grow to over the next 12 months, we will inadvertently collect more money because the base has gone up, but we're still collecting the same mill rate on a higher base. That means next year we could lower the tax rate and have kind of an up and down. The district can also look to use that for a larger one-time payment, potentially paying down some of your debt early. That would save the voters some of the interest money, which also works on the tax side for the back end of the plan. But it would also create some more capacity to issue that second and third phase of the remaining $50 million. So we don't want to have the up and down every year if we can. If we do see 1 year with a large increase, we'll probably try and keep the cash, because the next year could be a decrease and then we might not make debt service payment. So after 2 or 3 years of excess collections, that's when we'd probably go to act. But after a year, it'll be on our radar.
But off of that money, there's also reserve monies. Are there reserve monies set aside in case their payments cannot be made?
There will be some reserve. So based on that preliminary timeline, if we were to sell bonds in June of 2026, we'll set the tax rate in August of 2026, and the district would have your first interest payment in February of 2027, maybe March of 2027. The first set of property tax collections on that new bond should start rolling in end of November or early December from the county. And that means you'll have hopefully one whole principal payment before August of 2027 rolls around. We always want to keep a little bit of reserve, like you said, that way if the first year's collections are not as good, there's some backup, or if it changes down the line.
Okay. And so
this was also Dr. Martin's wheelhouse. We worked with him to set the mill levies and talk about the excess cash collections that different districts have. So he might have something else to add.
So let me bring in the PD practice. Ideally, the district has enough cash on 1st of July to pay all the principals and interest of the next year, that the next year is used to collect tax for the following year. So basically, also PED allowed, if we want to issue in the second half of next year, so in the fiscal year 27, a bond, to bring this data in, so the bond is not issued, but we bring the data in, that the tax rate is appropriately set for being able to collect the cash. So, and as I said, I worked on this project with Stifel and RVC from PED's end. So yes, there shall be always enough cash to make all the principals and interest payments of the next fiscal year. That's the ideal situation, and we will have to work on that. Yes.
Thank you.
Again, I appreciate the dialogue because to me, I want us to be able to, at each step, just be very, very aware of what these transactions mean, not just to us in the how we're going to spend the money, but also how it's being accounted for and how, again, it's structured, and again how it will benefit the taxpayer, but understanding that we understand how this is going to flow for the Taos Municipal School, and that the board has an understanding along with our finance director, whatever method is chosen. But again, I would hope that you all are available at all times to be able to just keep us in those steps along the process, because again, these thresholds are so important that we meet those deadlines, but also to see how the money is flowing and how those monies are spent. And the other word that I'm trying to use is just all coming together as this incredibly huge project that we've undertaken for the Taos Municipal Schools, but also for the taxpayer of our county.
Yes, ma'am. And we'll be here along the way to help give updates, talk through the different decisions that you all are being asked to make. We won't make a decision on a method of sale without you all being involved. There will be some direction and delegation to the superintendent that's needed from you all. So you will see us before where we can talk through the examples, the cost differences, or what we estimate. And then we'll follow up again at the end of a bond sale to provide you what those final results are. And then we can give more real numbers around what the public or NMFA rates were on the same day and tell you how much you saved. So we'll provide updates throughout the year on it.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Secretary Trujillo. Those are some great questions. It's great to have you on the board with your financial experience. I just have one question, and it kind of, I see that our students sitting in the back here that just gave a presentation on their Eco Club. Would the bond monies allow us to construct greenhouses?
Believe that would fit under one of the approved ballot languages. Yes, I would need to double check with Modrel to make sure, but it is a student purpose and it is a school facility that you would be building. So my short answer is yes, a greenhouse should count.
Great. Just hearing the presentation that these students gave to us, I wanted, we have a lot of initiatives in the district. That just popped in my head because it's fresh.
I'll double check and follow up with you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nick. In regards to moving forward with the construction of a new middle school, we need to engage a design firm. I've spoken to the superintendent about putting out RFP to allow us to have a competitive process so that we're trying to maximize our dollars. When can we start that process, developing the RFP? Is that a recommendation that we go that route? I know that there's many vendors, CES vendors, state contract vendors that we can engage with without having to go through a competitive process, but that doesn't really, in my mind, I feel give us the best bang for our buck. When would we be able to start doing that work?
That is something you could start potentially in January. That's another one similar to the 5-year facility master plan where we told Dr. Layton to wait. Because the school district has also applied to the PSFA for funding support using the traditional match on the middle school. And if you are to start any projects, including planning and design, there's a chance the state could say, we'll pay our 1/3 on the construction, but we won't pay our 1/3 on the planning and design. So that meeting, think it's December 11th or it's the 13th, whatever that Thursday is that week in December. That's when the Public School Capital Outlay Council is going to be hearing all of the applications from districts across the state, hopefully giving out awards at that same meeting. And then there's a couple weeks of back and forth between Dr. Layton and their staff to do the paperwork, but you can publish that RFP as early as January, I believe. And so if you wanted to work on it kind of internally and not distribute it, that would be okay.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the gist of my question there. So we could start working on that internally and then publish it once the right time comes.
Yes, sir. Once the award has been formally given to the district, that means anything afterwards can kind of fall into it and won't be exempt or precluded.
In your experience with other school districts selling their bonds, is that a process that they go through, or do they engage with CES vendors, state price agreement contractors?
I would say it's probably 50-50 right now on people going through CES and using outside vendors. If you are going to publish an RFP outside of CES, you'll probably end up getting one or two of those vendors from CES who responds as well. Northern New Mexico has one primary contractor who's building most of the schools right now along I-25. And so there are some of the school districts that we work with who have consciously chosen to not use them so their schools can look different. And then there are others who have said CES is the lowest cost option. The contractor has 5 schools they're working on now, and they can get us a blueprint in 6 months instead of a year. So again, maybe a balancing act. If you guys have an immediate need, there are some quicker ways we can speed it up through CES. Based on past conversations from the board and what you're saying right now, it seems like it might be worth an extra month to go through a longer RFP process and just make sure we are hearing from everybody in the state who's interested or outside who wants to come in.
And then I guess the firms that are constructing schools within New Mexico, are they New Mexico firms, or are schools being constructed by contractors or firms from outside of the state?
Majority of them are here in New Mexico, based out of Albuquerque. And then, for example, we work with Hobbs Municipal Schools. They'll get the cement guys from Albuquerque to come down, and it could be 2 or 3 days that week, and they don't necessarily know. They're also on the border with Texas and have the ability to pull some labor from across state lines. You all would most likely be looking at someone in New Mexico who would want to set up here just because it's further from Colorado and Texas, but you are also in a better position than some of the smaller school districts that don't have hotels, they don't have housing or things like that. It makes it very difficult to get an outside contracting firm to be willing to send workers down here. Because you guys do have that ability to house workers and feed workers in town, you'll most likely see some interest from other vendors as well.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, and that's one of the things that we want to look at because there's 2 types of design builds. One is, of course, your standard where you go out for RFP, essentially trying to build your own home. And then there's also design build where you get a company that could do it for you. But that's something that we're going to bring to the board for the board decision to make, and that would also direct us on what type of RFP that we would put out there. So I just wanted to put that note. It's just different ways of doing it and doing a little bit of history. It's been about 27 years since this district has done a facility from the ground up. The last one was Arroyos. And so I dare say there's probably not anybody within the district that has gone through this kind of process. But we'll get those presentations ready for the board so that way we can make that decision whether we want to go through our standard build or through a design build.
One of the thoughts that comes to mind also is in constructing a new middle school, we're going to have to figure out how to navigate and be able, because it's going to be a more than a year-long process, of course. So we're going to have to figure out how or what we're going to do with our students at the middle school to be able to provide them an education while at the same time constructing a school. So we got quite a bit of things to look at.
President Flores, if I may.
Yes.
Dr. Layton, President Flores, members of the board. So the district, we are already looking into the possibilities of trying to make any transition that we do in building a new middle school the least impact on the students, whether it be remaining in the same place. A lot of the design builds or traditional builds, they'll take section at a time. Students will be moved to sections. You deconstruct, reconstruct, and then you do the opposite. There's also the possibilities of the building being scratch, ground up, brand new on its own piece of property that's already on our property, which I believe Dr. Layton's going to have us do a presentation at some point to the board on that. And, we're happy that we have a lot of time to do this, but to make it the most effective would actually be for us not to directly affect students at all, which would be the ground up version. But I will be giving a report on that. I'm not sure if superintendent's going to want it on the next board meeting or the following meeting. But Alipio and I will actually be giving you guys some pictures, aerials, the whole nine, to show you the possibilities of the property at Taos Middle School. Thank you.
Good to hear you guys are on top of that. And I know the state will also provide some direction or share their ideas. If you are going through the PSFA process for funding assistance, they're going to want to hear what you guys are doing with students as well. So it'll be a collaborative effort from your team, the PSFA, as well as your architect, who's hopefully done it with some other schools.
Well, it sounds like we got a lot of work ahead of us. I'm not afraid of work, so we're gonna have to get the shovels in the ground as soon as possible, get our hands dirty. It's gonna be exciting. Again, thank you, Nick, for the presentation. You did provide us with a preliminary timeline. Is there anything on this timeline that you foresee changing? I know Board Secretary Trujillo mentioned a document kind of outlining a timeline and, critical steps. Would that look different from this?
That document will be more detailed. This is a very loose timeline with just a couple of the big hurdles that are needed. The school board is not going to be needed on every step of the bond sale process. That is something that Dr. Layton and Dr. Martins and us can do together. For some of it, we still want your opinion and will need it on a lot of it as well. The main thing on this timeline that could change, I believe, would be that March 2026 date that I put on there for the school board to adopt and approve a bond sale resolution. Again, that's just preliminary based off of what we've done with some other districts and trying to get you money by the time summer starts if you did want to work when campuses are empty. So if you need access to money, the earliest we could start that bond sale process is probably in January. And then if you're not in a rush is because you're evaluating projects, we might suggest waiting closer to June to start that.
Just a comment, I don't think we want to rush, but I think we want to be effective and efficient and definitely be prompt. I did speak with the superintendent board about the possibility of having a work study sooner than later so that we can discuss the project priorities and identify and rank those projects. So I guess as we move through our meeting and at the end we talk about future dates, just something to keep in mind. I think we should definitely have a work study, and I would hope that we could have one before the end of the year. We do have the Thanksgiving holiday next week, and of course Christmas coming up, but something to think about.
Yeah, President Mark, yeah, with the bond committee, we did, superintendent and I know you had a full work schedule, but we did go to every school site, and some of the school sites are needing it like a lot sooner, as Nick mentioned, and now the rest of the board we can actually go and look at it for ourselves and have the principals again share us with concern, and you guys will see, every bit of those dollars are needed for Taos Municipal School District. So it's great that we have the means now to address our deficiencies in deferred maintenance.
We'll be able to provide a better timeline after that work session. If you guys are going to be talking through some of these projects and needs, we'll be able to figure out kind of when we need to start selling bonds after that meeting, I believe.
Another question. So we have engaged, I guess the public may feel that we haven't engaged them enough. How could we further engage the public? And this might not be a question for you, Nick, but I definitely want your input. As we move forward with this, would you recommend, some public meetings? I just want to make sure that, we got full support from the public, to some extent in passing this election. And obviously we did visit, the bond committee visited with the schools. We did have a solicitation for people to join the bond committee. Would you encourage that we continue to, and I know you wouldn't discourage, but what is some of the approaches you've seen in the work you've done?
Thank you, President Flores. I think continuing the conversation with your community would be a good idea, just given the conversations leading up to the election and people feeling like they weren't heard, like you mentioned. You did bring it up at, I think, one of the bond committee meetings, but this is the perfect venue for people to come and hear what we're talking about. We've been discussing the election and possible uses for at least 30 minutes now, and I think this is a good venue where everything is on the public record for people to hear if they choose to come to those meetings. Your work session might not be a public meeting because there's some things to talk through, but either you all inviting the public and making it very clear that they are invited to that meeting to give them a summary of what that work session is, or having us come back and giving an update after the work session to say these are the priorities. Because these are the priorities, this is how we're recommending we sell the bonds, and this is the proposed timeline. We can kind of lay out those key 3 items to the members of the public and the district as early as January if you'd like, and then again make it open to everyone, let them know the meeting is happening. We're talking about selling bonds and what the first tranche of money is going to go towards. Please come now or forever hold your peace, more or less.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, one of the other transparency components that we want to do is on our website as well. We're going to have a particular, the General Obligation Bond 2025, and that way we can show the progressive timeline as to meetings, decisions, timelines. So once we start getting these timelines in place, we want to also place that on our website so it could be as transparent as possible.
In hearing PSFA, is there any reason that we would need PSFA to come down and engage the board with any type of presentation or discussion?
They can give an overview informational presentation. I don't believe they're going to require anything formal from the board as far as approvals. They will require site visits, talking through the plans. They require a lot from Dr. Layton as far as time, updates, and things like that go. We've helped him with some of the reports that talk about the district's financial needs. One thing they did ask already was if the district plans to ask for a funding waiver. That's something a lot of school districts in New Mexico are asking for. We believe you guys don't need a funding waiver to afford the middle school. If you do want a waiver, you have to raise your tax rate to $10 to qualify, and we're expecting it to go up to $7 at most based on the bond sale. So you would end up having to almost double the tax rate to unlock another $10 million of funding from the state potentially. But you'd also have to contribute more to the total project. So we think this method of just going for the traditional state match, which is roughly 2/3 for the district, 1/3 financing from the state, gets you the best option with a lower tax impact for all the residents. Because you're not asking for the waiver, I believe PSFA will be a little nicer. They hopefully won't ask for as many questions, but they will certainly be up here a couple times to walk the facilities, talk to Dr. Layton, and potentially you as well.
Any further questions for Nick? Well, thank you, Nick, for your presentation. This is a very historic moment for all of us. None of us have been through this rodeo before, so I'm sure that we don't want to see any hiccups or any mistakes. So we're definitely going to need all the support and guidance that we can get, and appreciate all your time and effort so far.
Of course. Thank you all for having me tonight.
Have a great Thanksgiving, Nick. Be safe on the road.
You as well.
Appreciate everything.
Happy Thanksgiving, Nick.
Thank you.
See you at the conference.
Okay. Mr. Herrera, our next presentation is Operations Department Board Presentation. Director of Safety, Security, and Operations, Marcos Herrera.
Dr. Layton, President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board. So my presentation is on the Operations Department. We're trying to do this as often as we can to give you guys a little bit of an update of what my departments are covering. If you look at the slides, this is our fun October. This is our nutrition staff engaging with students participating in the district-wide Halloween festivities, dressing in costumes, helping promote school spirit and positive environments for students. We have found that this does make for a better day for the children and for the staff, and I know that all the schools do participate. Equipment upgrades, a little more important there. We did get the new kitchen equipment delivered to Taos High School. There's still a couple items that need to be removed before we finalize everything with Grady's. Improving meal preparation and efficiency and food quality is still a big concern of ours. We are still taste testing. I had turkey nuggets yesterday at Taos High School. They're pickled turkey, something or other. I don't know exactly what. They're pretty tasty, but to be honest with you, when I do go to sample, I do choose from the middle. Staff already knows that they can't pull me something from the side. And again, I'm checking for taste, texture, the whole nine. The quesadilla, outstanding. And so I was very happy with the high school staff. They did a wonderful job. Holiday meal service, Thanksgiving. This is the first time I actually have gone to the schools on the other end of it with nutrition department to see how Thanksgiving meals are prepared. I understand Christina's stress because it is rough. But I believe we had a record number at Taos Middle School of parents who showed up to eat a meal with us. 48 to 50 parents is what Linda had there. So it was outstanding. Dr. Serna Marmol has told me that she's going to outdo that tomorrow. So if you all are hungry for a good Thanksgiving meal, come on by to Ranchos. We'll be serving turkey and mashed potatoes the whole night.
What time is lunch?
12 o'clock? 11:15. So we do encourage you to come out. She's going to have a lot of parents there, so it's a good chance for the board to go and interact with folks. Student transportation, you'll see in the pictures here. This is us with the various principals and the art teachers who participated in our Safe Schools poster contest. It's our second annual Safe Schools poster contest to promote safety across the district when it comes to our school buses. School bus safety. I know that you guys get calls. Dr. Layton gets calls. I get calls about school buses all the time. This is our help to promote it. Our safety systems that are on those buses, the cameras, do make it a lot easier for me to do my job because it's pretty easy to see what somebody's doing if there's a claim made. It also gives us the opportunity to discredit any claims that are made to us by the public, which we have had to deal with in the past and we'll probably continue to deal with. I totally encourage the camera systems that we currently have, and I hope we upkeep them. New activity bus drivers. Taos Municipal Schools welcomes 2 new district activity bus drivers, Mr. Diego Barone and Ms. Sherry Anderman, who will support student travel for athletics and extracurricular events and field trips. This is a very important thing for us because, as you know, we are always looking for more activities drivers. Board Member King, I did not have an update on that bus, but I was asked by Board Member King about our activities bus. I actually checked on it with Ms. Isaacs today. We are in the process of a signature, I believe, to get our activity bus. So as soon as that activity bus is ready and painted, I will be presenting on that as soon as possible. The student recognition for those contests was amazing. We did have Miss Autumn and Miss Leah Trujillo out there with their students receiving those bikes. So we had some bikes donated. We had other prizes donated throughout the district. From different entities in Taos for these wonderful kids who did all that wonderful work with their art program. So it was in collaboration with art in the schools, and I love that we're able to collaborate as a transportation department with one of our curricular pieces with Associate Superintendent Mondragon there. Safety and security. The picture on safety and security is a little fun, but we had to put a little fun in this because safety and security is a serious issue. We all know that. So we had an eventful month. Safety and Security Department had an active, productive month, ensuring safety and well-being for students, staff, visitors across campus. Of course, our athletic coverage, the department has maintained a strong presence at all athletic events, providing crowd supervision, traffic assistance, overall safety monitoring to ensure secure and enjoyable experience for students and families. But the most fun we've had with safety and security has been this last October. Dr. Serna Marmol there had a visitor to her school. You can see him up there. We had a raccoon. We responded to a raccoon call. When security was looking at the footage, we actually thought we had a break-in to Ranchos Elementary. Through further investigation, turns out we had a furry friend who was later identified as RDT. So RDT is the now unofficial mascot of Ranchos Elementary. He is a Mustang. We did not harm our furry friend. We actually captured him in a safe trap, and Dennis was able to release him into the wilderness so he can go live a wonderful life.
It was a lot of fun. If you've never held a raccoon, they're not as cute as they are on social media. This thing hissed at us. I thought it was gonna destroy me. We had another call. New mascot at Taos High School. After reports of a possible mountain lion in the area, the team proudly introduces Tiger, the new unofficial mascot, a lighthearted reminder that awareness, strength, and vigilance within our schools is always important. So on this one, we did actually get a phone call that we had from one of our contractors on the auxiliary gym. This is what we love about what we do with the contractors that we hire for Taos Municipal Schools. They took it upon themselves to alert Miss Emmy and her staff that we had a possible mountain lion sighting. Dr. Layton, myself, through our systems that we have, were able to identify that it actually wasn't a mountain lion, but until we did actually get the identification, New Mexico State Police, Game and Fish, Taos Central Dispatch, everybody was on their way to assist Miss Emmy in her lockdown while we straightened it all out. So as you can see from the picture, that beautiful little tabby cat, it's a pretty large cat, and it's understandable that when me and Mr. Diego actually went by and took the pictures of the cat, we were very curious as to the call. But again, needless to say, we always have to be vigilant. No matter what the call is, we have to respond and take everything serious, and we do. So we thought it was a little fun to put the little cartoons up there. Facilities and maintenance, seasonal preparation. The team is actively preparing all facilities for the winter months, including prevention maintenance, heating system checks, weatherproofing to maintain comfort and safety across all sites. Athletic improvements, crews completed repairs to the baseball field bleachers. I'm very proud of Fred and the guys because they took this project on and we have it completed so that when our baseball coaches, when Coach Miguel is out there this year, he actually has the bleacher system to where people can sit on them. If you hadn't visited our baseball field in the last, I have no idea how long the bleacher system was like that. I was told up to 10 years that people were falling through those bleachers. So you can see from the picture, and I welcome you again to go and check it out for yourselves. Fred and the guys did an excellent job. So now we have seating that we can actually use. Grounds and maintenance, the department successfully addressed the pest control concerns. We have taken care of your prairie dog problem for now. And I say that because, as Alipio would say, it is the dormant season of our prairie dogs, so we understand that you're not going to see as much of them. The company that did come out did spend about 2 weeks here. You may have seen them around town. They did their job from fence to fence, just like they asked. They allowed Fred to actually accompany them on almost every hour of their job sites. Fred was pretty pleased with their work. Our hope is that come springtime, we won't be dealing with prairie dogs, or at least not as many prairie dogs. They're also open to coming back on the following year to make sure that everything they did in their job was completed. Current projects, I'm very happy with this one. If you had an opportunity, I know Vice President Spray and Board Member King were able to tour the auxiliary gym with us, as well as Dr. Layton. We're happy with the progress that we have. If you haven't had a chance, we would love to have you out there to do it. The facilities department continues to work diligently to ensure district schools remain safe, functional, welcoming environments for students and staff. The facilities department is currently repairing and replacing door hardware at Taos Middle School and Ranchos Elementary. And we have other projects that if you get onto our website to the Taos Municipal Schools projects portion, you can actually see some of these things. We've actually gotten some feedback. I think Dr. Layton's going to cover that in one of his things, but one of the things that as the director of operations that I'm trying to do is I want to make some of these projects more transparent to the community. It's come to my attention that you sometimes receive word of what we're doing in the district. Our principals definitely do. We are going to try and reach out through a monthly collaboration with transportation, nutrition, and safety and security to not only post pictures. We already did our first set with Ms. Gentet. We're going to plan to do it every month. And in that, we'll also have some short updates on the current projects that Taos Municipal Schools are working on with the facilities. Not just major projects anymore, like even simple projects. We might be letting you know that we may have changed a window or some carpeting somewhere, just so that the public knows exactly what we're doing when it comes to projects. That last picture is us at Alipio's birthday. They wanted me to put it in so that you guys can see that the operations department is a true team. We consider ourselves friends, but we also know that we're employees of the district and we have a great time together. We love working with each other and we love reaching out with the other departments.
With that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Does the board have any questions? Board Member King?
Yeah, Mr. Herrera, why did it take so long for the softball fields and the baseball fields on the bleachers?
From our end or overall in time?
Yeah, what was the,
On my
gap?
end, I hadn't actually received the call from anybody through our school dude system, and that might have just gone by the wayside for whatever reason. I actually happened to be there myself, and I'm the one that condemned it. I had told Coach Ogin, Athletic Director Ogin, because he was there in that capacity, that I couldn't allow people to come to this because somebody's going to fall through the cracks. So that would have been last spring, I believe, Dr. Layton, correct? Last spring. And then we did that whole cleanup with our custodians, which we presented to you guys through a presentation. So during that time, we realized that this is something we're not going to contract out. We were going to work with the high school, actually, with the woodwork teachers to actually have the kids do it. But given the fact that we actually needed to do it a lot quicker, Fred decided that he and the guys would actually take care of it for us. So they went purchase the lumber, and it just took a little bit of time. There's a lot of removal. I didn't realize how much work it was going to be, but that on our end, that's why that part took time. Prior to that, I have no idea why it went unnoticed, or at least it wasn't given to us formally through the School Dude app.
And one other item, when we were doing the bond, the final week, we went to the radio station. So I would say you can do an update, I know Chris Medina was very open. There's another gentleman who has a 93.5. We can give that information.
Absolutely.
But let's communicate, as we say, it's KNOW. And the more we inform, especially now with what we're dealing with, Mr. Herrera, I think it's transparency is paramount for our community, so people know that we're doing the work in regards to the community.
Absolutely, Board Member King. I agree.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I don't expect an answer right now, but I thought I would just get your temperature reading on it, kind of. When we were having the problems with food and transportation in the budget and in the way things were rolling, and especially food, I think we talked about transportation, and you explained that to me pretty clearly. But for the food thing, are we getting a better handle on that, or with ordering and serving and cooking and all that? Whatever's ending up with us being in the red, are we still working on that actively?
We are. We
Thanks,
are
Dr.
working with
Martin.
Dr. Martin.
Yeah, he got his hand right up.
So we are analyzing very carefully food, and we have two funds, 21,000, which is federally supported, and 21,100, which is the state fund. We are meeting on this. We have realized that the expenditures actually for both materials as for personnel is too high. So we are overspending, and you can see that also in the financial report. So we will need to do a permanent cash transfer from the general fund into the 21,000 fund. So balance that again.
So if I may clarify, similar to what we had, I think I had brought it up to the board once before, but I'll reiterate it. Over the last 5 years, we did a back study prior to Dr. Martin's coming, and what we were doing was, because of the amount of people we have, we were continuously adding to our debt, given that our district actually does pretty well for our employees when it comes to raises and state matches and percentages that we actually add as a district to help gain personnel to the district. Unfortunately, over time, the state doesn't fund those things for us to give us more money with the match when it comes to departments. So that's where the major money problems began, and they continued to stack up. Dr. Martins and I have been working pretty well together to come up with better solutions for not only the people, the personnel, but also with the ordering. We do have some ideas that we'll actually share at a later time. But they're actually pretty good ideas that Dr. Martins has actually brought to the table that the nutrition department is actually looking at. It could save the district a lot of money. A lot of it has to do with the school bond and some possibilities that Dr. Layton, I'm sure, will discuss with you for ideas that we have that could actually help us.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dr. Layton and President Flores, maybe I could request in January, we have a report from them that's more specific on, what I'm interested in is the long-term plan that we're going to be enacting so that we don't get in that situation again. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
President Mark, I just have a, you just mentioned the, what happens when there's an increase in salaries and in a department. And again, I'm not sure if the SCG monies are, because the mandate comes from the legislature. Again, it's 3% or 4%. And that is what we have to factor into the salary schedules. Now, I think the challenge is the SCG monies that we get per student. I mean, it's based on per student. So sometimes that is our challenge, in other words. But then the other challenge is because we have employees that are also grant, they're paid out of grants. Are they still paid out? We have employees paid out of grants. That we still have to look into our SCG monies to be able to fund that with the increases also. So again, funding and the mandates that that we have to comply by is a challenge for us. And
Secretary,
again, we do it again.
Secretary Trujillo, if I may, to your point, right on, that even though SCG funding talks about the match, what we don't typically get is the benefits component of it. So although we get the 3 or 4%, whatever the state mandates, it doesn't account for the benefits that our employees are receiving. And that's where, as a district, we provide those benefit costs. So even though we can get a 1-to-1 match for the percent raise, we don't get funded for employees' benefits. And this is where we have to take into consideration. But I think we've got a pretty good eye out there with Dr. Martins to find ways to be able to mitigate this. And we'll bring that in a January plan as possible.
Her thought, Superintendent Layton, again, when we're looking at a salary schedule, it isn't just the 3% on the salary, because that 3% also goes to not just your FICA, your Medicare, all of that is increased by the 3 or 4%. So again, it's just a mushroom type. But if we're just getting for just the initial salary, that poses a concern for us. And I believe that in the past, I have brought that to the attention of when we're in some of our PD meetings. It really needs to be looked at the state level, because it is very concerning for us trying to prepare a budget to meet the mandates that are required of us, but also to budget and to spend accordingly.
Secretary Trujillo, if I may, as far as my departments are concerned, it has been a true blessing to have someone of Dr. Martin's knowledge and expertise to actually guide us through a lot of cost cutting that myself and others just didn't notice before. It's stepping into somebody's mind and having leadership from Associate Superintendent Mondragon and Dr. Layton and Dr. Royal has actually helped this team that I have become, I think, a more efficient machine. We, to the point of even changing light bulbs and things of that nature that this cabinet has been able to identify in our meetings throughout all of my departments and other departments as well. Very thankful to have this team behind me and the leadership of Dr. Layton because of that. I do think that when we do meet in January, I think we will be able to share some really good cost-cutting, more efficient ways to help the district through the operations department.
We look forward to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Herrera, just, to echo what you said, you use the word efficiency simultaneously with cost cutting. And, one thing that I've seen over the many years that I've served here on the board is that there's been a lot of improvements in your department, and they've been instituted by you and your team. As I looked through your report and as you presented it, student nutrition, student transportation, safety and security, facilities and maintenance, you have a lot of responsibility that you undertake daily. And I just want to let you and your team know that I myself have a lot of confidence in you and in the work you guys are doing. I've seen a lot of improvements across the district over under your leadership, under superintendent's leadership. I think that we have a great team in place right now. It's a young team. We got some new team members, Dr. Royale and Dr. Marians are new to the team. Superintendent is going on 18 months old, I believe, this week.
Yes, sir. Monday was 18 months to the date that I moved to Taos.
I just want to let you know that, I fully support you and all the work you're doing, and I'm thankful for all the work you're doing. The bleacher work, let your team know that just from the photos, it looks very professional. And look forward to the many improvements that we still have yet to accomplish, but that you guys are working towards. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, President Flores. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
I
sir.
will make sure my team knows.
Thank you.
I will appreciate it. And the gym guys, auxiliary gym look great. Very, very inspiring.
Okay, that takes us to number 9, student outcomes. We have our campus principal presentations, Taos High School board presentation. Mrs. Emmy Martinez de Herrera, principal of Taos High School.
Everyone.
Evening.
Oh. I've never used this. There, is that better? Oh. Superintendent Layton, Board President Flores, Associate Superintendent, board members. I want to start off this evening's presentation with a huge thank you to our community, to the board, to the cabinet, and also to our my fellow principals for the work that went into and the outcome that we had with the Go Bond. We are so excited. I'm excited on the level of being a leader of our school, the high school, as well as a community member, what this can bring to our community, and then also as a parent, because I will have my youngest going through the middle school and then 2 at the high school right now. So I think that we asked our community to stand behind us, and they did that, and I couldn't be more pleased with that. So the Taos News, the radio stations, our board superintendent, it's just really exciting to be able to stand here today and have a conversation about what the future looks like for our students. So on that note, I want to share with everybody what is going on at Taos High School. For our first slide here, we have our total. I wanted to share demographics. You can go back one, Sam, please. So on our first slide here, we have the number. Our total enrollment is 712 students. When we're looking at 363 males versus 348 female students. We are serving 82 Native American students, and our ELL population is 59. We do have 35 students that fall under our McKinney-Vento, which is our homeless population. And you see a lot of that with our students either at Dream Tree or being raised by their grandparents. You see a lot of that communication with them on a daily basis. And that's where, and with students with IEPs, we're serving 184 students. So when you look at our total population, I did not break down to race and ethnicity, just merely for the fact that we wanted to kind of highlight our subpopulations. So if we can go on to our next slide, please. Starting with our student achievement, very excited for our students. This is an example of our students that made honor roll our quarter number 1, and we look at probably 150 in each of those areas from a 4.0 GPA, and those that were with the 3.9 and above. To the left and to the right are one of our counselors, Miss Nisha. She's presented to the board prior to about our attendance. And we're just looking at information. On the left-hand side, you see 101 students during that week. Those are our freshmen that had perfect attendance. So we're not only focusing on our chronic absenteeism rate, we want to really look at the positives, and you see a fluctuation. You know what I mean? What happened the next week or the week before, the week after. On the very bottom of our left-hand side, we had 293 students had perfect attendance for that week. We are working diligently so we can compare with some of our principals that constantly have really good outcomes to ensure that our student population is attending, as well as our staff members. So I want to say that we want to be in the running, continue to be in the running. If we can go to the next slide, please. The next one is really looking at a continuation of our student achievement. We are looking at lead measures and improving overall student outcomes. Our attendance, when we look at attendance, we look at chronic absenteeism as well as perfect attendance. So there's a huge focus on our data, and something that I feel that we're really kind of getting a good feel for across the board with our staff. And I'm going to share something about our PLCs in a moment. In class performance, we're looking at honor roll as well as our failing rates. So we're looking at the highlights that our students are really having some success with, and then those that are struggling, and looking at interventions and programs that we can support our students with. Our assessments, we're working with our iReady, which is a beginning, middle, and end of the year assessment. Our PSAT and SAT, which we're hoping to bring down to the 8th grade level, so students are able to see that assessment more than 1 time or 2 times. We want them mastering what that assessment looks like, mastering the areas that they need to work on. And then our NMASR, so we know that junior year is a major year for students to be testing. And then our Mastery Prep. Mastery Prep was a program purchased by our Gear Up. And what that is, it's a very amazing platform where students can prep for the SAT. So we look at do nows, like a warm up, a do now. They have examples of that. They have how you can prep for these assessments. They have what you can see is what it looks like. So students look very familiar with what the assessment looks like and the outcomes. And then our panorama entries and our data review. So what we did, I want to share with everyone that last Monday and Tuesday, I ran our PLCs and we looked at Panorama, and I was able to show, actually, let me take it a step back. After our board meeting at the Pueblo, the very next day, I met with our Native American team, and it was amazing because I was able to share with them some of the comments that were shared, and then also some expectations I had. So when we met, it was that conversation of, okay, when you meet with your students, where are we entering this data? Well, here's my binder and here's everything that I'm doing. Well, let's put that into Panorama. That way, when we look at the tiers of what the students are looking at, we have that support for them. So that next day, I had Miss Delavina Sanchez. I saw her entries and it was great. Phone call home, didn't leave a message, things of that nature. So Panorama is a really good platform for us to be able to get a snapshot of attendance trends, their current grades, their current, if they're going down in any classes, any behavior incidents. And then on top of that, we can see our iReady assessment. So I can go back to when they were in 8th grade. I can see a chronic absent student. They haven't even taken the test this year because they were in school. So on that note, I want to share a little bit more about our professional learning communities. With the support of our superintendent and his cabinet and Ms. Renetta, we've been able to really focus the data, the time that we're looking at data. It is really structured on not so much, oh, here's updates with what we're doing in our school. That is not a PLC. A PLC is drilling down on information. So we're taking the data that we've gathered and sharing it with our team and then saying, what are we doing about it? How are we working our bubble students? And the board has come to us and said, what are you doing about math and English rates? What are you doing about our deficiencies? So if we can go to the next slide, please, and I will tell you exactly what we're doing in a moment. Our educator excellence, we went to a restorative justice training in Raton, and they had a Zen Den. And I wish Dr. Cherry was here because she talked about wanting to visit, but I think we have something that's even better at the high school, to be honest with you. So the restorative practice is very important because we are looking at how to keep our students in school. We're looking at how that data and using a program like this limits suspensions for students. Not those high level, you're fighting, there's drugs, there's weapons, those ones, but those ones where we're having conversations about the best practices for students. I'll give you an example of how that's working. Miss Margot, our SEL coordinator, she's been coming in and doing groups with students. She's doing building relationships with students, so she's doing circles with students. I've requested from her support with a department circle we need to have, some staff circles that we need to have, bringing that to life so teachers are well aware of what's going on. And today we actually were able to, what I think was called we ran a circle today, not knowing exactly how to do it perfectly, but we did it with 2 students that at lunchtime almost fought. And then we said, there was a misunderstanding, let's sit down and figure this out. So what we're looking at there is just building relationships. During our PLCs, teachers are asked to call home and have either 3 glows or grows. And that means that we're calling to say great things about your students or calling to say, here's some areas that we can work on. We want to build the relationship with families to know that Taos High School is not just calling to say, say negative things or, we want to build that positive relationship. We have done our site walkthroughs for quarter 1 and 2. We're at 61%. We are very advantageous when we scheduled. We wanted to do 14 a week. We wanted to. we couldn't get to that, but that I want to share how great it was when we were there. The best part of our day is working with students, and when you're in a class watching them get educated, it's even better. So we were able to, our site walkthroughs, it's aligned to our Excel New Mexico, our Universal Design of Learning, and AVID. So when we walk in, the teachers know exactly what we're looking for. It's not it's basically, do we see, respect, and report evident? Absolutely. So we can check it off. And then we also have glows and grows for the teachers as well. So that's one of the things that I think these site walkthroughs have been extremely beneficial, because you can walk in for 5 to 10 minutes. It's not the full-on evaluation that you're supposed to, which we're focusing on now until Christmas break. But it's basically, you're able to see a snapshot of what's going on in the classroom with the teacher at that time and the students. So walkthroughs have been very successful. Our weekly PLC is data-driven, as I said before. Our college and career enrichment opportunities, which we changed from Flex Friday to CEOs. Semester 2, that's going to look a little bit different to really highlight the opportunities students have for more of a full day participation versus just a half day. And I will provide more information to you on that. I did want to share with the team that's not here, because our last few numbers came in this week, is that in working with HR, there was this idea to say, okay, we want to know exactly what staff, what license they are, and at a kind of a snapshot. I know Dr. Royal is able to see that, but for me as a principal, it was so nice to be able to see. I want to report to that at the high school, we have 29 staff with master's degrees. So it's just not staff, because several of us have 2 masters. Then you have 4 staff with PhDs. We have 10 staff with admin license. No one ever tried to take that from we're not sharing that too much information, but it's 10 staff with that. We have 3 nationally board certified teachers, 3 in the process. And then I was adding up the years of experience, and there's like over 400 years. There are several staff members that have over 30 years. I think that is a selling point for our schools. It's not just about what is said about what's going on in the classroom, but who is behind the desk teaching our students. So I just really want to highlight our staff members, because they are a stellar staff. And I will say that we've had a week. It has been right before a break. I think principals can say it's a rough week. And I walked through the halls, and one of our goals that I'll share with you in a second is that we're going to have academic vocabulary. And I saw these posted in the hall, and I said, all is well. No matter what happened, all is well. Teachers are doing their best to meet the needs of students. And it was just a great feeling. If we can move to the next page. Okay, our goal, our family and community engagement. I send out weekend updates and announcements. So I send out 800 of them. So when I click on to send out a robocall, we have 800 staff or families getting weekly updates. That's announcements, updates, this is happening. Sometimes overwhelming maybe for parents, but then basically asking them to be partners with us to say, please check grades, check your students' attendance, or our focus is increasing attendance. Reminders, school starts at 7:35, I'm sorry. So those are some of the things that we're really trying to work on. Clear, transparency, communication. Our PTSO, we meet with them. I meet with the president. I try to meet with them on a monthly basis. Our community schools is providing family dinners, and that is so exciting. There was one going on before I came here. The food is great. The kids are coming. There's food going home. So it's another way for our community schools to meet the needs of our students. At the high school, we have a strong community schools program from food, clothing. We just got a donation for our McKinney-Vento students for hoodies. So there's just so much love and compassion for all of our students. And when you open up family dinners, it's even better, because you're not just saying high school, you're talking young students, all of our parents coming in. Our hope is that we can, I know there's some conversation about big brothers and big sisters around the district. We're hoping that that can extend to the high school in addition to after school activities. We don't really have, besides athletics and some clubs, we don't have a lot of activities. And now teachers are saying, can I have chess club? Can I work with a music? Our mariachi group is trying to, span out to different types of music. And so those are all things that we're trying to work to strengthen our family and community engagement. Next slide is our culture and climate and wellness. Safety remains our top priority at Taos High School. I don't know how many times I've had to say this to students just this week alone. That is our priority for our students. The way that they carry themselves, the actions that they have, it's all about safety at our school. We have been working with transportation on some concerns because we moved with our parking lot, trying to keep the front of the building safe. We made a little bit of a concern for the back with the buses, right? So now we have students trying to leave at the same times that the buses are coming and staff. So we're working closely with transportation to ensure that that's an area that we address and work on together. Our restorative justice, we've already talked about that. The support programs that we have in the building, Taos Alive, Taos Behavioral Health, our social emotional learning, El Centro, and our THS nurse. These are vital programs for a holistic approach to looking at students, and we're very fortunate for their participation in what we do. I don't know how many times today one of the TBH workers was there on site when a student was having an issue, and it was like, oh, we're about to call you. Thank you for being here. You know, so it was just, he's like, I don't know how I just walked into this, and it's probably because it's evident some of our students are just dealing with these emotions that are leading into the holidays, whatever that means for them. So we're trying to address those, and we want to make sure that we're aligning our school mission and vision with every single thing that we do, which is also aligned to our student outcomes to see improvement there. If we can look at our next slide, and this one I'm really excited about. Ms. Sam, if you can make that white sheet a little bit bigger. So when we're looking at our professional learning communities, what we did here is I worked with, and I know like at Enos, they have a guiding coalition. That's what Nicole was talking about. Well, here, what we're looking at is, this is what I reviewed with our PLCs on Monday and Tuesday, and I presented this to them. We are going to, at Taos High School, our goal is, our school-wide goal and focus is going to be around literacy and numeracy and student engagement. So we can say that our numbers of students, we have all this data of iReady. How many kids are performing 3 grade levels below? How many bubble students? But what I wanted to do is really look at, on the beginning of year, iReady, we had students that, a high percentage that are below grade level. We see that number. Our goal is to move that number over, right? That we can look at numbers and we can look at students, but our goal is to move those 70 and 80% to the other side where we're growing and they're becoming a grade level. So our goal for that is this, and I'll be faster, this is our school-wide focus is this, is that it is no longer falling on just our ELA and our math teachers. You worry about math, you worry about ELA. No, we are all doing this together. The more hands, the easier the lift, right? So what we're doing is we're focusing on our academic vocabulary for the remainder of this quarter and into the second semester. And what that means is that everyone is going to be talking about vocabulary. So if I'm a science teacher, I might be lending to the math vocabulary. We also, so our English department chair gave us a list of, Latin words, Greek words, prefixes. Math did the same. And then our bilingual program gave us some for Spanish as well. So we're trying to be inclusive of all of our students. So that means that when we look in a classroom, we're saying, okay, what we want is, it doesn't matter if I'm teaching a culinary arts class, my vocabulary is up on the wall. I'm doing very similar things that, you know what I mean? Talking about very similar things in addition to my content as other teachers in the school. And students, out of 8 chances, there's going to be a very high chance that they understand that vocabulary component, okay? This was exciting. I don't know if you guys are really excited about it, but I'm very excited because it's school-wide now. We're looking at even the title, it's a guided practice at Taos High School. So our hope is that we see it in all across school-wide, but then also we see an increase in student talk and reflection. So if they see the vocabulary, then they're talking about the vocabulary and they're utilizing it and they're writing and they're reading. So that was just a guided practice I wanted to share as far as our PLCs are concerned and what kind of supports our students are looking at. If we can go to the next slide. And we're almost there. So what we're looking at, it's my teacher coming out. Don't worry, stay with me. So on these ones right here is on left side, you can see some information from our community schools. On the right side, this was an email shared with me. In that middle picture, it's kind of small, but you can see that there's a tiger paw in there. And basically what this was is that the quoting here is, it was great to see how dedicated the community school staff are in making sure students and families have access to healthy, nutritious food each week. So this was a really great fill. This one here, right below, it says, I'm deeply grateful for the warm welcome and the continued partnership with Taos Schools. Their dedication to creating a caring, inclusive space where every student and family feels supported truly reflects the heart of their community. So our community schools is just shining on all of the levels, and people that come from the outside are seeing that. Our next slide is on the left-hand side, we are seeking our staff information and voice when it comes to planning for the future. So if we have staff that say, you know, we want our voice heard with this, I've created a form, and this college and career enrichment opportunity on the left told me that staff are saying, we like this old model of the way we used to do things. I would like to see this happen. So we try to take action on that very quickly. On the right-hand side is our flyer about the potential that we have for bringing a JROTC to our school community, which we're extremely excited about. Dr. Royal, Dr. Layton have been working really closely to see what the possibilities are. And I think as a district, this is not new for us. This is something that has been brought up in the past. If you look at what kind of skills this brings, citizenship, leadership, personal responsibility, self-discipline, teamwork, those are all things that'll help our students continue to thrive. We did a survey of students from the middle school coming up, and from the middle school coming up, there were 57 students interested. And we didn't say, you know, this branch of military or that one. We basically, that was the flyer. We found a video to show them, and it was shared. And within a day or two, we got this information. At the high school, there were 88 students. So we needed 50 for a program to even be kind of supported financially here at our district, and we have double that. So I'm very excited to present that part of it. There's a lot of planning that has to be done because there are a lot of expectations about space and classrooms and shooting range, all of these different things. But I think that will be in the future as long as we have that interest right now. And then I stand for questions. That's it. Nothing.
The board have
I'm
any
good.
questions or comments or?
Is the dinner, is there a good turnout?
We're starting to see, they started last week. So I think we're seeing numbers of, you know what I mean? There are more students that we're seeing. When I went in today, it kind of looked like some familiar faces, but I don't stay the whole time. So I know that after like basketball practice ended, a few of the boys went to eat. I know that before the volleyball tournament, I think it was a perfect timing for them, or I'm sorry, state for volleyball. They went to go eat as well. They were able to grab a snack and go. The food is great. It's out of our EDU cafe. So Adam is there. So it's really, and kids are helping. Ashley and Miss Naomi are really putting it all together. So I think they're hoping to increase numbers, but for now, there's, I think, a steady flow of families coming in.
And this is, it's in the lunchroom.
This one is in the cafe. It's in the, yes, it's in the cafe. So they're able to cook the food right there, and, you know, and that food is, and the food is coming from the food depot as well. So that food is provided, you know, so there's not much of a cost to that.
President Flores, members of the board, I do want to ask Ms. Heming about this because I think it speaks to the outreach that we've been trying very so hard to do, because it doesn't take just the teachers and the staff and the principal, but it also takes our parents. We had our recent district organization team meeting, DOT meeting, and the Native American Education Program presented about the parental involvement. So you were talking about numbers, and Ms. Lujan reported that I think last year we were getting maybe single-digit parents coming in, and the way she described it is the majority of the meeting, when it came to after-school programs, it was just the people who work here. But we're reaching at least about 24 now, parents that are coming in to at least partake in the conversations and see how we can help each other out. And I'll, for Ms. Emmy or Ms. Renetta, just to be able to speak to that, but it's good to see that we have more parental involvement coming in, especially for our different populations of students.
Something interesting, and that is about the data. Just trying to find out what the data means. And I always say the numbers tell the story. And again, it's a beautiful story. that is being presented. And I think that it's going to, it's a challenge for you all. It's probably new and and maybe not. Maybe you're taking some of the old, kind of, you do different things as you go along, but thank you so much for all the effort that you put in, the staff, your teachers. I mean, it's really great. It's really, really great to see that. And thank you for it.
Board Member Trujillo, I appreciate that feedback. And I think that we're very fortunate for the opportunity that we bring, that, that our staff is given to work with our students. And when you look at the data, most definitely, I think that we're going to see a lot of growth. I have this feeling that we know what direction we're going and what it is that we need to do. So our hopes are to continue to increase those scores across the board for our students to show their true potential. If it's looking at assessment data, then we will, in addition to show their ability beyond just assessments, we will also show it there.
What I just wanted to add is that, again, sharing this data with your staff, with your teachers, with, it's amazing what that, it's something that ignites, your enthusiasm would ignite them to see what, because the outcomes are coming from them, correct?
Yes.
So to see that, it's really, really a good, I don't even know what the word is. Maybe it's a new word. That adventure to take in education.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You go into a new territory of teaching and learning and taking the kids along with you. And because again, you pointed out all the many years of experience that you have, these educators that are coming into our schools to educate our children. It's awesome. And we're so grateful to them. And please let them know.
Thank you so much. I will definitely do that. Board Member.
President Flores, Superintendent Lee, and if I may, Secretary Trujillo, I'd like to let you know also preliminary, because we haven't been able to release some of our notes, but the high school is one of our school sites that is close to being a spotlight school. And so the work that Principal De Herrera has been doing and her staff has been doing, I think, has shown that improvement with what our district scores look like. And, New Mexico Vistas, the all-around data on moving students forward and looking at data, like you said, it does tell the story, but it also helps us tell the story and how we can further that story and move on to the next chapter for our students and not just stay stuck on the same story that was there. So, the work that they're doing, I have full confidence that they can move towards a spotlight school.
Thank you so much. That's great news.
Ms. Simi, I appreciate it. Could you repeat at the beginning in regards of the demographics?
Mhm.
I've got the male and female students, but I said the ELLs, how many students?
ELL 59,
And then the
82, and
I've got the other one.
you got the McKinney-Vento in our IEP.
Yes, so a couple comments. I just wanted to, when I first came on the board, your enthusiasm and your professionalism is palpable, and I want to let you know that. I know it's not a perfect world, and it's great to hear. Associate Superintendent, tell us about the metrics. Thank you. Yesterday, I think parents-teacher organization interviewed the students, and that was great. Our daughter got to attend. And it's great that you guys are listening to the students, because that's where the rubber meets the road. So I just want to congratulate you on that and
Thank you.
recommend that encouragement. Just out of curiosity, so you got a hat policy, no hats?
No hats. No hats in the building.
Okay, I'm just curious, it was the kids?
Well, no, not really. What we really look at is safety, and it's really easy to identify. We have a strong policy around wearing our IDs, which is a fight every day. Sometimes sometimes. It's a battle, I should say. But we are able to identify anyone that is in the building that is not wearing an ID or sometimes wearing a hat that kind of disguises their looks as well. So again, going to safety. Also, it lends to professionalism in, the workplace as well. We're building young students' minds to be able to say in the workplace, this is, maybe how I look. And also it lends to the expectation of dress for our students. So yes,
Yeah, okay, well, that's great. I appreciate that. And I think it's huge. You've got to love yourself before you can have any success in life. So it's great to know that you're putting that into the kids, that confidence, 'cause that's everything. And it's great that the kids are finding that, whatever those attributes are, and actually could be or may be or working towards. I want to compliment you for that.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, President Flores. Hi, it was really exciting to hear all this. You're doing, I think, as I told you before the meeting, I think you're doing really, really great.
Thank you.
At some point, I would be curious to have a more thorough presentation on the JROTC if we're going to actually add that. And I don't know if that comes from you or Dr. Layton or maybe Associate Ms. Mondragon, maybe you because of the curriculum. I don't know. But from someone, I would love to hear more about that. I don't know much about that program.
I
I know
believe
about regular ROTC, but not in the school.
absolutely. I think that's a good eye opener for all of us because when we do implement that, I know that that would be the next step to talk about what the curriculum would be and what the expectations are. So right now it's a very basic, here's the information, here's the interest that we have. And I believe that the board would have to then approve also saying yes to this because of the academic component. And I know there's an academic and also vocational, and we want to stick with the academic pathways. What I had suggested to Dr. Royal in our brief conversation about it as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a
Thank
good evening. See you in the morning at the next meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Emmy, for your presentation. Appreciate it very much. And just wanted to highlight those dinners that are being served at the high school. I think that's a great initiative by our community schools program. And I think we just need to continue to work to get the word out to the community.
Absolutely. We'll work hard to ensure that everyone is aware of it, most definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we have campus reports for review. 9.2 is Ranchos Elementary, 9.3 Arroyos del Norte Board Report, and 9.4 is our Enos Garcia Elementary Campus Board Report. Does the board have any questions or comments regarding the campus reports for review?
Yeah, they look good. We did read them.
Board Member King.
I'm curious, I said with Dr. Madeline, what sent you to Riverside Church? Were you visiting? Were you there for a conference? When I was reading over the report, I was.
Board Member King and Board Member King and members of the board. We were at the Community Schools Conference, and it was actually held at Riverside Church. And I've been to Riverside before, but never to the church. It was amazing to go there. Thank you.
Great. Did you guys have the choir sing, or did you get to meet the pastor?
No, we did not, but we did get to go to the chapel and see everything and then see the historic pictures of Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King speaking there, Jesse Jackson. So that was really exciting.
Sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Question for you, Dr. Sotomayor. So in your board report, it says that you won an award or recognition for a welcoming handshake.
So we had to form triads with people that we didn't know. And so we did our triad, and then they asked people to vote on who had the best welcoming handshake, and our team won. So we had to go up on stage and perform our handshake.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for getting out there and representing our Ranchos Elementary in our school district. Thank you so much. On behalf of the board, I want to thank all of our principals for presenting their information in the board report. Again, if the board has any questions or further comments, please submit those to Superintendent Layton to be disseminated to our campus principals. Item 10 is Superintendent Report. Dr. Antonio Layton Jr., we have 4 items under the Superintendent Report, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Superintendent.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, for my first component of the presentation on the board report, I just wanted to inform the board that on the 24th of October, I officially received the certification for Chief Procurement Officer. So I give you all a little copy there in my presentation. So I'm an official CPO now. And I will say it is very, thank you for the guidance on that piece, but Dr. Martins, now he starts to deflect some of those questions. Well, you're a CPO now. What's the answer? So he keeps me on my toes. He keeps me on my toes. So I just want to make sure that the board and the community is aware that as their superintendent, I'm also a Chief Procurement Officer.
Just real quick, Superintendent, I think you're the first superintendent that I've had the pleasure to serve with that has a Chief Procurement Officer certification. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, yes, Secretary Trio.
I don't even know how to ask the question, but how did that enlighten your perspective to procurement? Because you're signing off on a lot of these requests. And what is it that you found that this education that you just got that is such a foundational part of public monies and how they're expended? How did this impact you?
Well, and a good question. Thank you for that, Secretary Trujillo and members of the board. Interestingly enough, we have an overall idea of how procurement should go. Part of my doctoral was to take an entire semester on procurement, but when you go through this particular program, you get to know the nitty-gritty details, the finer details that tell you you have to go this process, the next process, make sure to avoid this process. But what I will say on the enlightening part is I was also very proud because come to find out our district is doing a lot of the things correctly. And I'll give one case in point. Statutorily, we're not required to get 3 quotes below 60,000 statutorily, but we do. And we do it not only between 20 and 60, but we also make every effort to do it between under 20. So part of the enlightening part is we're doing things right. Now, there's some things we need to obviously work on, but it's just good to see that as a district, we are moving in the right direction. We are doing things correctly. We are doing things better, but we're also, everyone here, and I'll speak to my cabinet, especially the campus principals, we're all in it to make it better. And part of that class is now saying, hey, wait a minute now. We do need to do it this way for this reason. And the course was pretty lengthy. In fact, I was looking at my schedule. Why did I miss some events in October? Well, there was a whole week of going to class every day. You had to be online. You had to be physically present. You couldn't have interruptions. They told you when to take your breaks. So the enlightening part is we're doing a lot of things well, but there's also a lot of work to be done. And so I appreciate the board guiding me towards looking towards that certification.
Can I just add one more comment? And that is, I think we could expand the knowledge to all those that are purchasing for the district. And I think that it will just facilitate the process of not just purchasing, but getting payments made to vendors and overall good accountability for the district.
Absolutely. Next steps.
Next step.
I have a comment real quick in
Yes, sir.
regards to expanding that. What would be the possibilities of encouraging our directors to also participate?
That's part of the next steps now that I've seen it specifically firsthand. What can we do now to expand this by the directors and then a little bit more? But then again, we have to look at different avenues, but those are part of the next steps and the next plans to see what we can do. It's just a better understanding.
Thank you so much.
So next slide I have is our TMSD survey results. The board had asked to see if we could provide a district survey. And the 4 categories that were listed by the board were instruction, climate, culture, and communication. And so we generated a district survey based on the strategic plan as best as possible. We sent the survey out to all our staff on Halloween. I'm sure they thought it was a trick or treat, but no, this wasn't a true survey. We sent weekly reminders and it closed this past Friday. We had over 100 respondents from the district, which is about a third of the entire district. And so I'd like to share those results because they came back very positive. There's a couple of areas that we do need to work on, but they came back very positive. And so if we look at the next slide, what you'll see first in the area of instruction and student achievement. So I want y'all to see it's a Likert scale. So you got from strongly agree, agreed, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree to not applicable. And so the first thing you want to see is how much do you go to the left? How much do you go to the right? The more red and orange we see, the better, of course. And so lessons that are aligned to state standards, as you can see, we have a nice clear line of strongly agree and agree. Teachers using data, which we had our principal just talk about, but this is the teachers using it, where they're iReady and MSSA, short cycle checks. We see a good alignment there. Students who are below grade level receive timely interventions through MLSS and SAT. As you can see, that's one area that's the lowest out of the 5 questions. And so those are one of the things that now the instructional team can look at and say, okay, how can we provide these timely interventions? Because this is the data that's telling our story now. They have an opportunity to accelerate learning. For example, dual credit, CTE, advanced work. As you can see, that's one of our next strongest one. And then, of course, the end instruction and feedback helping students make measurable progress towards grade level proficiency. It's our second highest level response. So this is in particular instruction. Our next slide, when it talks about the climate itself, this is one of our stronger areas. The question went out that they feel physically and emotionally safe in the classrooms, common areas, and events. As you can see, overwhelming response with strongly agree and agree. The school consistently practices required safety drills and follows safety procedures. That was the highest response for strongly agree and agree. Staff responded promptly, respectfully to behavior and safety concerns. Again, those responses overwhelmingly positive. Students know how to access social, emotional wellness supports when needed. This was an important one because do our students know how? And the response from our staff is yes, they do. Daily routines, for example, arrival, transition, dismissal, they're orderly. Do they minimize disruption to learning? Again, very high marks on our climate as a district. Our next slide, when we talk about culture, culture also received, this was one of our second highest responses from the 4 areas that the board had requested. All students and family feel welcome and respectful at school. High marks, classroom practices, reflect culturally and linguistically relevant approaches. Students experience fair, consistent expectations. Extracurricular arts and electric athletic and service opportunities are accessible and inclusive. Staff model positive, respective relationships with students, families across backgrounds. And so as you can see, this was overwhelmingly in the agree component with some major strongly agree. And our last one on communication, which includes family and community engagement, plus systems and transparency. The highest mark that we received was communication is accessible in my primary language. It doesn't say, I wanted to notice the question, it doesn't say in English. It just says in the primary language. And so as you can see, that's an overwhelmingly positive response. We see that the district shares information clearly with enough lead time. They can find accurate information about calendars, policies, programs, and services. And district operations, facility projects, safety upgrades, budget and audits are communicated with the staff. And so we do have some areas that we can work on. The next slide in particular just kind of breaks it down because we do have our neutral, right? And we do have our not applicable. And so we kind of want to look at the data as far as how does it look when we're talking about strongly agree and agree and disagree and, strongly disagree and disagree. So as you can see from the percentages, we're above the 50% mark at each of the 4 different areas, with our lowest one on the communication piece, which is an area we can work on, but is still twice as high as the disagree or strongly disagree. And so I wanted to break that data up just so that we can take out the neutral and not applicable components of the scores.
Yes, I had a comment. I'm interrupting you before you go to your last page because it responds to what you're talking about right now. Did you say your daughter was in the panel last night at the PTSO? What's her name?
Her name's Camila.
Yes, I was there because I let them in and I decided to listen and watch because there was a panel of kids. They said, "Do you want to listen?" It was so interesting to me. Communication, the kids mentioned that communication was, they thought, the weakest link in the chain for our district. And they gave concrete examples and suggestions for improvement. So I will give those to you. I'll turn them over to you. I took notes.
Appreciate that.
They were really creative and really honest about it.
That's good.
That concurs with what you're saying.
Thank-
Okay, thank you. Thank you, President Flores.
So, on the last slide, I just wanted to mention to the board, I did receive an invitation to attend the 2025 December National Superintendent's Forum in Los Angeles, California. What I will say is my first thought was, Dr. Martins, can we afford this? But then looking a little bit more at the details, it is full reimbursement. And so this is an opportunity to be able to touch base with different superintendents across the country. It is in Los Angeles. It's the week after our NAMASBO conference, but it is with full reimbursement. And so the week of, excuse me, I'm corrected by my executive secretary there. But it is a full reimbursement. So this is a good opportunity to touch base and see what else is out there in the different states. I know as a state, you know, when we talk about federal funding, as a state right now, the state is taking care of a lot of the funding, but what happens if that runs out? And so I want to be able to touch base with some of the other superintendents who maybe their state is not funding some of the cuts that they're receiving, and maybe bring up some good ideas, instruction, communication. But I just wanted to let the board know that it is in Los Angeles. I would fly out on a Saturday, so I can begin attending on a Sunday and then come back on the 9th. I will be back for the board meeting on the 10th before then, but I did want to let you all know that it is a fully reimbursable type of travel. So we wanted to take advantage of that fact. You don't get that very often.
It's great to see. It's a no-brainer. And it's great to network.
Did I miss how you heard about it?
Yeah, we received an email. It was an email through, of course, as a superintendent, we received different emails from a whole bunch of variety of places. And so when I received the email, I said, well, let me look into it. But what caught the eye was the reimbursement.
That's very nice. Well,
And last,
thank you, Mark.
want to bring up the Go Bond post-election report. So my cabinet, as well as Member King, we attended the canvassing of our actual votes at the courthouse. It was great to see. I'd like to express that it felt like you were watching the birth of your child, you know, to a certain degree, because it was canvassed. So once it's canvassed, it's official. And it just felt great to be going as a team, to be able to acknowledge the hard work that everybody put into this. And so it was a good team effort. It was brief, like the way they did describe, but it just felt solidified, concrete, that real, exactly. And of course, we all said the same thing. Oh no, the work now begins. Roll up the sleeves, get all the details. As we shared before, it's been 27 years since we've built a facility from the ground up. And so there's a lot of newbies involved now and a lot of work that does need to get done. But having said that, as part of a little celebration, I do want to say that we actually have some cake for the principals and the cabinet, just to do a little celebration, and the board, of course, to celebrate the passing of our Go Bond and really the trust that the community has given us. Because I will say, it was a little contentious for obvious reasons, but we also submitted a forensic report, and we put that to the public before the vote. And so through all that, the public still entrusts us with their monies. And so we want to be able to provide that transparency, but also let the community know that we acknowledge the fact that they still entrust us with their tax dollars.
Thank you, Superintendent. I would like to also thank the community, all of our staff members, individuals that got out and voted in support of the GO bond. There was a lot of work that was put into advocating in support of the GO bond, from getting out and getting on the radio to putting up signage, to speaking with community members in the grocery stores and out in the public. It did get contentious, but you know, as with anything, you know, it was a good fight. shall I say, to advocate to the community that our students are worth the vote and worth the support. I want to thank Board Member King for all his work on the bond committee. He was there at every meeting. He strongly supported all the members of the bond committee. I want to thank the board and just, feeling very gracious. We have a big responsibility as board members and as a district to show the community that we can be very frugal and very responsible with the money that was voted in favor of a new school and many new initiatives that are soon to be implemented. So I think this is a great opportunity to, it's a great opportunity starting, now moving forward to actually show the community that Taos Municipal Schools is diligent and frugal, and that we have our students' best interest in heart and in mind. So I want to thank the board for their support. This was a huge undertaking. And what we did is we really put it out to the public just to gain their support. And I believe that it showed that we had the support of the community. I'm not sure if any board members have any comments or questions, but I think this is a moment of, should be a moment of celebration for the school district.
Yeah, just one of the board members, Susan said, we do it together, and I think it was a great, superintendent, it was his first time. We all came together, the staff came together, it was a great teamwork. It was a beautiful thing, and to end our year with knowing that we've got the new year to really start where the rubber meets the road for the students, for the community. I remember an architect shared with me, I shared with the superintendent and Mr. Herrera and Mr. Fresnel that we can make the school however the community wants it. And that's, I think that's very powerful. You could have those utility rooms open that the students can see the mechanics work. Not everyone's going to be behind a computer, but I think everyone has a calling in life. So I just want to also thank the board, thank the community, the staff. You guys were there for those tough meetings, and I believe it was telling. So it's great to be part of a new day, and I believe that we're only going to succeed. And I believe we are coming together as a team. And people have said that in the community, you guys are working together. This has been videoed, and people can see that we enjoy, we don't always have to agree, but we come together with a consensus. And I think it's, like a college class, President Mark, you've been a great steward of showing the leadership, having those tentacles in the county, in the town, in the community, also as a Tiger. So it's great. It's great to be part of this. And I thank our advisors, the bond advisors. Those guys are great. They're the real deal. They're nice guys and they're smart guys, and they're not strangers. They didn't just show up. We've known these guys for a couple of years. Got their pins. They're there at every conference. And Nick is he's a Norteño. He's from Santa Fe, so it's great.
So superintendent has a cake out there, and I think it's only fitting, if it's okay with the board, that maybe we take a 5-10 minute break and have a slice of cake, and we'll convene. So real quick, I'll make a motion to enter into, we'll call it a 10-minute break. For the record, it is the time on the phone, 8:34 p.m. So motion to take a break.
Second.
Got a second from Vice President Spray. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I would like to make a motion to reconvene the meeting. It is 8:51 PM. Can I get a second?
Second?
We got a second from Board Member Spray. Could you please call for the roll?
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 11, which is Director of Finance Report. We got 11.1 September Financial Reports from Dr. Rainier Martins, Director of Finance. Everything okay?
I hope so. She gives me.
Do
What
you want,
happened?
do we need a table or?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think we could table it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and table this item for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table family matter. I'll make a motion to table 11.1 September financial reports to be presented at our December school board meeting.
Second?
We have a second from Vice President. Call for the roll, please.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to number 12, old business. 12.1, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of amendment to Sierra Therapy Professionals LLC contract. Dr. Cherry Walake, Director of Exceptional Programs and Cyber Magnet Principal.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, Dr. Malaki also had to leave on a family matter, pressing. So Associate Superintendent, Ms. Mondragon will be doing the presentation.
Good evening, Associate Superintendent Mondragon.
Good evening. President Flores, members of the board, Superintendent Layton. What you have before you this evening is an addendum to our contract that you had initially approved at the beginning of the year. What we had found was that we need additional services to be provided for our students with special needs. So what we're looking for is approval of in addition to the contract so that we can provide monitors for our students. These students will be, or these monitors will be in the classroom monitoring the work between our online providers and making sure that the students are participating with those monitors.
Associate Superintendent Mondragon, when you say monitors, are you talking about an individual?
Correct. So these individuals are, I would say it's kind of like an EA that'll be in the classroom with the students. They're not providing the actual service. The service is being provided by one of our professionals, but what they're doing is making sure that the engagement happens. What we did talk to the contractor about was that ensuring that these monitors were certified, so they're going through a certification prior to being in the classroom with the students.
Does the board have any questions for Associate Superintendent Mondragon regarding this matter? Board Member King?
Yes, appreciate it, President Mark. Associate Mondragon, Superintendent, how many monitors are we talking about?
We're looking at 2 additional monitors at this time.
So they'll be, is that like all year or every day?
Correct. Well, it'll be dependent on the student services that are needed.
Not that this is going to hold up the approval of this item, but just for the record, what is the additional cost for these services?
For the first monitor, it is 34,314. And then for the second one is 17,157.
And is this for the duration of the school year?
Correct. Unless, of course, keeping in mind if our student services changes and we need to increase the amount of hours, but we'll come back to the board to notify you and seek approval for that additional amount.
Thank you, Associate
I
Superintendent.
do want to also put in there that we did have our legal team review it and look at how we could do the addendum to the contract to ensure that we're following all of our guidelines.
Superintendent Layton, do you have a recommendation in regards to this matter?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I recommend the approval of the amendment to Sierra Therapy Professionals LLC contract as presented by Associate Superintendent Renata Mondragon.
Would the board wish to make a motion? At this time, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the amendments to Sierra Therapy Professionals LLC as presented and recommended by Superintendent Layton.
Second.
We have a second from Vice President Spray. Please call for the roll.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Thank
Thank you.
Associate Superintendent. Okay, this leads us to item 13, which is an executive session. The executive session is to discuss limited personnel matters as permitted under section 10-15-1 H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically 13.1 for the superintendent to update the board regarding progress on performance plan. At this time, I would like to make a motion to enter into executive session. It is 8:57 PM.
Second.
We have a second from Vice President Spray. Please call for the roll.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo, Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. 8:57. 8:57.